This is Tully Blanchard, one of the original members of the Four Horsemen with Ric Flair and Arn and Ole Anderson. And you know what? With this world of high technology, you've got to go to the best. You've got to be the best. You've got to have the best equipment, just like the Four Horsemen always told you. InYourHeadOnline.com. That's the premier place to get your information about the wrestling business today, tomorrow, and even in the past. This is your place for the best, by the best, with the best.
All right, and we're back. And joining us on the phone tonight is a legend of wrestling. He's one of the original Four Horsemen. It's a pleasure to have him here. He's Tully Blanchard.
Guys, it's great to be here with you.
And let everybody know that coming up at the Tribute to Starrcade show, November 19th, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Tully will be in the main event when you have J.J. Dillon in his corner, and he wrestles Dusty Rhodes with Magnum TA in his corner. And it's going to be for the CCW Heavyweight Championship.
More information is, of course, at CarolinaChampionshipWrestling.com. We've been talking about it for a few weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
It should be a good show. I'd recommend anybody in the general area or anybody who can make it into the general area should check it out.
Right. So,
well, I think I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, guys.
No, you go right ahead.
No, it is, the promoter does a great job, and it is, I wrestled for him last year in a different part of the Carolinas, and the policeman that walked me to the ring was a guy that used to walk the Four Horsemen to the ring back a number of years ago, and he said, God, this feels like times again. And that made me feel good, and you had 2,000 people in the gymnasium in Lenore, North Carolina, so I know that there was a number of people, and they were shouting and screaming and having a good time, and we can never forget that's what wrestling's all about. It's the entertainment business.
Definitely. Yeah, we've had Tony Hunter on here before. He's a really good guy. So looking forward to getting in the ring again with Dusty Rhodes?
Well, I am, I tell you, I have a whole new approach to this stuff anymore. With the popularity of these Legends shows and autograph signings and stuff like that, we get to see, and I particularly get to see what wrestling fans really thought about me.
Right.
You know, sure, they didn't like me because I was a heel, and they didn't like anything because of what you did. But the bottom line is wrestling fans enjoyed the entertainment, and now, back when you couldn't talk about it because we didn't talk about it being entertainment back in those I've got the ability not only to look at wrestling fans and sign autographs for them and chat with them, but to hear the comments about how much they enjoyed the entertainment, because we worked extremely hard to entertain them. And it is great to know that all your hard work is being appreciated, or was appreciated.
Mm-hmm. Right. At the time, you probably thought maybe these guys just really hate me. Is that different, though? Do you like it better?
No, I mean, they were supposed to hate me. I mean, I wasn't doing my job if they didn't hate me.
Right.
You know.
Do you think that's...
As long as they were buying tickets.
Yeah, right. Do you think that's weird, though, nowadays, that maybe they appreciate the heels for being heels, but they don't really hate them for being heels?
Well, I think that the business itself is maybe taking it that direction, because somebody that is Johnny Valentine told me this one time, and Johnny Valentine was one of the great ring generals. He said, if they respect your ability, they will hate you even more because they want to like you. And I said, okay, I can grab onto that. That gave me something to hold on to. And so, you know, I never did just silly stuff. You know, I didn't pull hair for no reason. I didn't spit on people for no reason. I was always courteous and for the most part outside the ring and all that kind of stuff. But when I did something dastardly in the ring, the whole match change.
Right.
And so, people would say, he doesn't have to do that, the little whatever. And it was more believable, I guess, the way some of the guys approach their craft now. And so it was, and again, I'm speaking out of speculation because I don't know many of the guys that are in the business today, and maybe I'd be the same way they are.
Right.
But the way I was taught, go out there and give it 110% and try to get this emotion out of the fans so that whenever it was time for Dusty Rhodes or the Road Warriors or Ronnie Garvin or Magnum TA or Demolition or Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty or whoever it was, when they started their comeback, the people were up off their feet screaming. Because that's what they paid money to do. They paid money to come and scream. And my job was to make them scream.
Definitely. I always thought you were just a natural heel. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. But,
well, my dad always told me I make people mad all the time, so.
Yeah. I guess you
without trying it.
Were you a babyface early in your career? Like Texas?
I was when I first started because I guess all young, handsome 22-year-olds are all babyfaces, but and the handsome part's questionable, but I was a babyface for a little while.
Yeah. So that's why they all love us.
Do what?
I said that's why all the fans love us. Of the three of us.
That's it. Especially the big arms.
Right. 1-inch biceps. The chicks love it.
Oh, they love it, man, I'll tell you.
Did you
even just my natural stuff, I'm getting heat with 1 inch already.
He's seething there.
Oh, I am.
Do you think it takes away somewhat from the luster of wrestling that you have heels these days, case in point Kurt Angle, and he gets pops for pulling off his moves when really the fans should be booing them?
I went through a little dead spot. I'm on a cell phone. Could you repeat that? And I'll try to listen a little bit better.
Absolutely. Do you think it takes away somewhat from the luster of wrestling when you've got the heels like Kurt Angle, who when he locks in his finisher, the fans cheer, when he's really supposed to be portrayed as the biggest heel on the Raw roster currently?
I don't watch it enough to really know.
Mm-hmm.
If the wrestling fans are cheering a guy they're supposed to be booing, somebody's sending off mixed signals, or they're not sending off the right signals. And because I've never experienced anything like, people never cheered me when they were supposed to be booing me.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Did you enjoy being a heel more than when the short time you were a babyface?
Oh, I was, yeah, I am a natural heel.
Mm-hmm.
I am naturally fit that role much better, and I knew how to make baby faces look good. And that's probably something that I won't ever get credit for.
Yeah.
But that's what I did. It was, if you go back and just look at all my matches and log them like you would a baseball game or a football game in stats, you would say that he was on top in his match 15% of the time and getting the crap beat out of him 85%.
Right.
But people are not screaming when the heel is winning. Mm-hmm. They're only screaming when the heel is losing. But you've got to get enough heat to make the people scream.
Yeah.
And so and that's a lot what's missing now is because that concept, and it's a simple concept. And if you think about it, think about the last time you went to a Rocky movie, or last time you went to a Steven Seagal movie, or any movie that made you go, yeah, when the good guy made the comeback.
Right.
They got into your emotion, and whoever getting the heat got the heat. If you cheered, when the guy made the comeback.
Do you think it was hard?
And
Sorry, go on.
do what?
You just go
Oh,
on.
go ahead.
I was just asking, do you think it was harder to be a good heel that you weren't the biggest guy? Because it would be hard to heat on some of the like the baby faces.
No, you just got to make it. You just got to have your thing together. You know, I mean, I wasn't a great big guy. I was 220 pounds, and the things that I did were believable when I wrestled Animal or Hawk or Demolition or Axe or Smash or whoever. You know, and the things that I was capable of doing because I wasn't quite so big. I could sell differently. I could do different pumps. I could do all this stuff that made it more exciting for the fans. And then when I was on top, you know, I didn't do things that were outside the realm of believability. You know, you didn't see me doing press slams or bear hugs or some gaga thing like that, like you might see with stuff now. So,
Do you think that's missing the realistic aspect? Because definitely, like everybody remembers the I Quit match with Magnum TA because it was so realistic.
oh, absolutely. I mean, well, but see, that gets back to one's philosophy, and that gets back to one's goal or mission statement. What am I trying to accomplish when I go to the ring?
Right.
Okay, and for the most part, most of the people in the business nowadays had no minor league training, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
You know, they all walked in the big leagues and the big paydays and stuff, and they never had to pay the price. They never had a boot camp time of their life to where they would appreciate and learn their craft, and now they're up on the big show. You know, and the ones that have and did are there, and I mean the testimony of that. Look how often Vince keeps going back to the old people.
Yeah.
To the old stars. Let's renew this guy and renew that guy, revamp this guy and revamp that guy, and try to get something else because the new ones aren't getting the job done, and they're making such a good living that they can't grasp in their own minds that they're really not getting the job done.
Mm-hmm. Right. They keep bringing, like the last big show there, their homecoming show, they brought back pretty much everybody. Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin, pretty much the whole, you know, everybody that was a big star for WWE in the last few years.
Sure. Did you know this? Did you know that my dad and I, with Southwest Championship Wrestling, produced the very first wrestling show for the USA Cable Network?
No, I did not know that.
And we were on the air for like 10 months.
Right.
And we were a small company out of Texas, and we really didn't have the big vision and the big wherewithal and the money to keep it on the air. And for lack of one to accuse anybody, whatever, our TV show was off one week and Vince's was on.
Yeah. Why do you think that happened?
Well, I mean, we couldn't pay our bill, and I'm sure that Vince could.
Yeah. Was it hard being like the boss's son? You think that people treat you differently? You try to prove yourself more, maybe?
Well, it was. I had a different approach to that because I wanted to be better, work harder, and deserve my position so that nobody could run around and say, he's the promoter's kid.
Right.
And I learned my task, and we were drawing money when I was the top heel, wrestling Wally McDaniels and guys like that for our company. And then, you know, the biggest career, or the biggest part of my career and most notoriety with the Four Horsemen and then with the WWF was, you know, my dad had nothing to do with them. So, you know, that was just, that wrote that chapter of the book.
Yeah. So it wasn't really anybody treating you differently. It just, you knew that you were the boss's son, so you didn't want anyone to treat you differently. You wanted to do it on
Well, I wanted to outperform them all so that they couldn't crack on me.
Right. When you started Horseman, did you think that was going to be such a big deal as it was?
Do what now?
When the Horseman started, did you think right away it was going to be a big deal? Did you just see like it was like there was a certain magic there? Or were you kind
Well,
of...
the thing about it, I just read in JJ's book, and JJ put a very good explanation of the Four Horsemen. The reason the Four Horsemen got over and was so powerful was because Jim Crockett, Dusty Rhodes, the promoters, the bookers, it wasn't generated from the wrestling side of the thing.
Right.
It was generated from the fan side, which is unlike everything else in wrestling.
Yeah.
Right, we had J.J. Dillon on the show a few months back, and he said that there weren't any plans to continue the group until the weeks following the original coming together of all 5 of you. The fans would be in the crowd holding up the 4 fingers.
Right, when they started to see the fans come with the with the suits, and they'd hold up the 4 fingers, and so then they decided to go with the Four Horsemen as a group.
And we've lost Tully.
We lost Tully.
Oh,
Yes, we have.
excellent. Well, looks like we can take a break real quick.
That's not my bag.
La, la, la. I can't speak.
Yeah, we can call them back.
You want to just call him back on the air?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can do that. That sounds good. It's fine with me.
He's connected.
Is it fine with you, Cooter?
Sounds great to me, guys.
Good, Cooter.
Can you hear me
All
now?
for it. That's
Good.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought.
Did we have a technical difficulty?
I think so. We lost you.
I believe we did.
Okay, where did we lose it at?
We were just talking about we had J.J. Dillon on our show before, and what were you saying, Barbie?
We were talking about the fact that the Four Horsemen was more fan-generated than it was anything else, and I was just mentioning that we had J.D. Dillon on the show a few months ago, and he related the story that the Four Horsemen came about. There were no plans after the original coming together of the 5 of you to put together a group, but in the weeks following at the shows and on the television tapings, the fans would come and they'd hold the 4 fingers.
Absolutely. And they had to jump with it. And I was just telling you when I disconnected, was in Greensboro, North Carolina, at the Greensboro Coliseum, there was a group of college students that came to the wrestling matches that had suits on and sunglasses, and they had flashcards, and they had 4 horsemen all down the second row of the Coliseum. And I was standing up in the tunnel with Jim Crockett, and he looked at me, and he was over there smoking on his cigarette, and he said, "This thing's really getting over, isn't it?"
Yeah.
And I looked at him like he had 3 heads. I said, "Yeah, absolutely, it's getting over." And that's when they started putting the promotional thing behind it, and doing the posters and doing the T-shirts and all that kind of stuff.
I think one thing maybe in modern wrestling would be similar would be Stone Cold Steve Austin. After he did his little thing and people started to bring the signs like Austin 316, and then they really started to get behind him after that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Would you attribute part of the Four Horsemen's success to the baby faces you were working with at the time?
No. I would give all the success of the Four Horsemen to the Four Horsemen. Mm-hmm. We made whoever a baby face. We drew money in wrestling Dusty, or the Road Warriors, or Ronnie Garvin, or the Midnight Express. We switched them baby face, or Lex Luger, or whoever. We made them, and made them look like supermen. And because we did that, and because we had the ability to do that, that's where our success came from.
Definitely. Because I was a big
I
fan.
hope that didn't sound too egotistical.
Well,
Oh.
I think anybody who's made it in wrestling has a little bit of an ego anyway. I think, yeah, you need it.
Well, but I'm very realistic about it. I mean, it didn't make any difference who the baby faces were. We made anybody look, and we made them all successful.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go back and look at everybody we wrestled. The reason we stuck with the same baby faces is because they were the ones booking it, and because that's just where they put us.
Mm-hmm. One of our people on the message board, Wildcat Woman, she wanted to know if there was anybody that you see on wrestling today that you think you would have a good run with if you were in your prime.
If I was in my prime,
Yeah, or even
oh goodness, I could probably have a run with just about anybody. But I mean, The ones that are, again, I don't watch very much. I've come through it now that it's on USA a little bit. I saw Shawn Michaels wrestle Carlos Colon Jr., which they had a pretty good match a couple of weeks ago. And, I took pride in the fact that I could perform with Terry Taylor or somebody on television that you've never heard of, or go out and have a believable match with Ray Traylor before he became the big boss man on TV, and then go out and be able to perform at a level that was just wonderful for the wrestling fans with whoever they put me with. One time they got mad at me and were trying to browbeat me into submission so I'd be a good employee, and they stuck me off in the little B towns with Jimmy Valiant. And that was probably one of my harder jobs in life, to have good matches with him. But that's only because I didn't go for the dog pee spot.
Right. He's more of a comedy guy. We had him out a few weeks ago. I guess same thing when you went to WWF and you had to wrestle like the Bushwhackers.
Yes. And the question is, did you enjoy? Do you think you could have been used better at WWF, the Brainbusters team? Absolutely. But you got to look at what they wanted as a company. When they hired Arn Anderson and myself, they didn't hire us to improve their company. They hired us to hurt the other company.
Yeah.
And once we got there, it was too late to figure that out. I mean, we'd already made the move. And when they did their thing to that 3 months with the Bushwhackers says it all.
Yeah.
Okay, our first 3 months up there with Sean and Marty, we tore down every house, every place we ever went. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was absolutely, if not the best, it was next to the best match on the card. And they were very exciting and very good. And then before they put the world straps on us, we go and get beat by the Bushwhackers right in the middle of the ring in every major coliseum in North America. Mm-hmm. Now, you tell me they're not trying to cool us off.
Who would you say they were? Do you think it was like Vince McMahon himself? A lot of people say...
Well, the company. The company. The company is they. Mm-hmm. Whoever made the decision, the best I can remember, there wasn't too many decisions that Vince didn't make.
Right. A lot of
pardon me?
I was saying a lot of people even say they do that now, lately, like when they bring in guys from ECW, almost all of them, like Raven, they'd get over right away, but they just really wouldn't do anything with the guys. A lot of people think it was just because they were from ECW and they didn't want to put them over a WWE guy.
Well, that may be part of it, but I mean, that's like apples and oranges.
Right.
Okay, because ECW was as successful as it was in its little area.
Yeah, it wasn't the NWA.
It wasn't the NWA. When we went into Philadelphia the same night they went into Philadelphia, and we outdraw them across town with the Flair against Luger and me against somebody and whatever, and we draw more money than Hogan and whatever across town at the Spectrum. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you're not talking about. We're talking about equals with the NWA versus, Vince just doing whatever he wants to do with the other guy, and they're all happy to get have a job.
Right. Well, you can say the same thing then, like during the WCW war when they bring in guys.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, if Vince made you a star, Vince didn't have a problem pushing you.
Right.
And when you can look back to when Vince hired Popper and Valentine from Crockett. Crockett started getting good. He went and picked their two biggest stars and pulled them out. Mm-hmm. Or they may not have been the biggest star, but pulled out the key people.
Yeah.
And he laid them stars up there, and he did that, and that's a pretty good technique. It's a very good technique because Vince figured that everybody eventually would work for him.
Right.
And he has absolutely been true with that.
Do you think that's bad for wrestling as a whole, that there's only really one main federation for the guys to work with?
I think it is. I don't know that it's bad, but it certainly, you don't have near as many jobs available for guys as an industry. Mm-hmm. It changes the way that the competition thing is what took wrestling to the number one rated show on Monday nights, was when WCW was on one channel, they were on the other channel, and people were switching back and forth instead of watching a dull football game.
Right.
And, so I mean, it was sad to see that competition go away, just because competition promotes good things, but it's certainly you have no stroke now. I mean, the wrestlers have no place to go. They either do what they want or don't have a job.
Yeah, it's easier to burn out, I think. The guys get old quicker on TV, because you see the same guys on TV so much, and there's no other place for them to go to.
Yeah, but by the same token, the guys that are on wrestling, they're not taking care of their own performance because they are a commodity. And if I'm a commodity, I'm just like Wheaties. Every now and then I got to change the guy on the front of the box. Every now and then I got to change the design on the box. Well, I've got to change me. I got to change the things that I do. I got to change the bumps that I take. I got to, if you go back and look at my matches, I was changing all the time. So it was still Tully Blanchard getting the check, and it was still me walking to the ring, but the matches were all different.
Right.
So that I could keep myself fresh.
Yeah. Back when you were in the NWA, did you and like the other wrestlers have like a pride that you worked for NWA? Did you guys see WWE or WWF as like as just inferior, like in the ring?
I don't know if I saw them as inferior any place.
Right.
I mean, they were a competition that made us stay on top of our game. It was
more cartoony, I guess.
Well, it was when you look at the demographics of the two companies back in those days.
Right.
They had different audiences.
Yeah.
That's why we could draw different people in Philadelphia the same night. We had our demographics were blue collar beer drinkers from 19 to 36. Okay? And the WWF's demographics were kids, and that's what he targeted was children, so the children would bring their mom and dad.
Right.
And they would buy the novelties and buy the stuff. And neither business plan is wrong.
Right, it's just different.
Okay? But we sold blood and guts and violence. And WCW, when it switched from that mentality, they just tried to be another WWF and tried to change the NWA into that, and then the whatever NWA promoters were left wouldn't let them. And so then you've got WCW that's trying to be WWF with a different name on it. Yeah. And in most cases, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, but in this case, it didn't, and it wasn't, because the only people that went to WCW were all the people that Vince didn't want anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of that started when Hulk Hogan went to WCW, and they would start bringing in like people wrapped up in bandages, pretending to be mummies to fight him, and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. And then, in my opinion, the worst thing that you have one of the greatest babyface draws the professional wrestling had ever seen was Hulk Hogan. Mm-hmm. Whether he could perform or not, that was not the question. He drew people. He had charisma. And when they switched him heel, oh my God, that was horrifying.
Oh, right at the time, though, I thought it was good when they first did it because no one expected it.
Yeah, but when you can't carry the torch, babyface's mentality and a heel's mentality are completely different.
Yeah.
Okay? And it is about making the babyface look good to screen. It's not just being the bad guy. Okay? And I don't know Hawk that well, and I'm not trying to be critical, but his mindset was that of a babyface, not a heel, so you got him out of position. That's like putting a quarterback at split end.
Right. Yeah, he wasn't a guy that really could make, like you say, make the babyface shine. He was a guy that needed someone to make him look great.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, even though he might pull something out or throw paint on somebody or whatever, or hit him with a chair, that was irrelevant. The mentality and what you're trying to accomplish with the performance is what what separates heels from baby faces.
Do you think all those, like the NWL and the different factions, kind of, not really copies, or maybe copies of the Horsemen?
Borrowed heavily.
Of the Horsemen?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were all certainly trying to recoup what the Horsemen had, and the reason it never worked very well is because they didn't know why the Horsemen worked.
What would be the main faction reason you think? Well, you already covered that. Why the Horsemen worked.
No. Well, that was one reason why the Horsemen worked, but I didn't. The real reason the Horsemen worked, and why you still remember the Horsemen today, is because, and I didn't understand this until about 1996 because I was thinking about it, and I was traveling around speaking, that's what I do now. I travel all over the country and speak for an organization called the Bill Glass Champions for Life, and we go in and out of prisons and talk about how our lives got changed and by the power of Christ. But I was meditating one day on how and why it was so successful, and it was because when we got on television, we didn't badmouth Dusty Rhodes very much or the Road Warriors or whatever. We talked about ourselves, and we talked about being the best at whatever you did in life. So in essence, we actually, to some degree, were teaching people and telling them how to live. We were preaching a doctrine to them. And that is why it was something that they could grab onto. It was something that people either loved it or hated it, but they could grab onto it. And that's why you still remember it today. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. The leader of the Horsemen, obviously, Ric Flair, he's still wrestling today. Are you proud to see him out there, or do you think maybe he should give it up, maybe take away from some of his legacy?
Well, I watched him do a little bit of an interview, which was extremely truthful and extremely good. I don't know if the wrestling fans of today were ready for that kind of intensity when he was bleeding in the middle of the ring. That was great stuff. He may have bled a little bit too much to make it believable. But being that I know that it was real blood and what you got to do to get that, the thing that I would hate to see, and I don't know if it's too late or if it's not too late. Ric Flair's legacy in the wrestling business should be one of the greatest crowd attractions of all time.
Yeah.
And when you hang on too late, I think that dulls that shiny image.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you, though. I think this last run he's having with Triple H, it's really it's really intense and it's good stuff. I think before that, just seeing him as just a normal wrestler out there every week, that's not really what you want to see out of Ric Flair.
No, but I think he's getting paid a lot of money and he doesn't look at it. But see, and this is just where I'm a little bit different. See, I think the company is using, and maybe they have to use him because nobody else can go out there and perform. But I was the thing that I like about my situation, not even taking in consideration the spiritual change in my life, and but the fact that I was on television, I was a world champion, and I was performing at the peak of my life at age 35, and boom, I'm gone. Wrestling fans don't have any image of me being too old, too great, too bald, too old, except for this last year when I've done a couple of these Legends things, but they're expecting an older, balder version because it's a Legends thing.
Right.
So the fact that I show up lean and slim and in shape just lets them see, and then I can still perform a little bit. It leaves a better taste in their mouth because they're expecting the older version, not somebody competing or performing at the peak of his career. And it's whatever he can live with, but I know that I like where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And I like the people's memories of me when I was operating at peak performance. And so, and I work hard to stay in shape, and I've got really in shape for these Legends things, and I'm staying in shape so that Tony doesn't get embarrassed for paying me.
Right.
And
a lot of your matches now, I was just saying, a lot of your matches are they're coming out on DVD. Are you just you happy that people can see like some of your old matches, maybe people that never saw them, or people that were fans at the time, and they can have them on good quality now? Because I used to have a lot of the VHS tapes, and they're all pretty bad quality.
Yeah, who's doing the DVDs? WWF?
WWE, right? Yeah.
Well, I like it because I get a check.
Right.
It's not a big check, but it's still more than I would have got.
Right.
And I know because they send me a sheet on it, they're selling a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of new wrestling fans that are getting to see what I used to do, so I'm getting exposed to a whole new wrestling crowd.
Yeah. Do you think that helps your appearances on, like, these Legend shows?
I certainly think so. Yeah. From what I understand, I just did an interview thing that Tony's going to have available in Spartanburg on DVD. Just me talking for a couple of hours. Not really a shoot interview, although I was very honest about many things. But I wasn't in there trying to tell where any skeletons were or talk bad about anybody and get some free shots at somebody.
Right.
But that's going to be interesting to see how many people want that, because I think he's got a couple hundred copies of that he's bringing to Spartanburg. And as you guys can tell, I do have an understanding of the wrestling business a little
definitely.
bit. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
definitely. You wanted to save the dirt for here, so you can. You can just
there we go.
People here.
You still don't have that Mickey Mouse watch that Ric Flair talked about in the DVD, do you?
The Mickey Mouse watch?
Yeah, he said something about
my watch was a Mickey Mouse watch?
Yeah, that's what he said, yeah, I think so.
Crap, it costs just as much as his. A gold nugget, pave-faced Geneva 14-karat gold watch.
With Mickey Mouse on it?
It didn't have Mickey Mouse on it. If I remember right, I used to hold it up on TV and talk about diamond time.
Mm-hmm.
And, but that's just, I didn't have to get in, I didn't have to have the biggest car or the most expensive watch or whatever.
Right.
I was happy with my watch. And as one of our promoters when we were in Las Vegas, he looked at me and he said, "Do you like it?" I said, "Yeah, it's beautiful." He said, "Can you afford it?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Buy it."
Right.
So I said, "Okay."
Would you have any advice for the younger guys that are in the wrestling now? Maybe like that. Maybe don't buy a lot of diamond watches. Try to save your money?
Well, it is, I've got a different look on a lot of things in life now that I'm 51 years old.
Right.
And, there's a lot of things that are hitting me in the face that when you're 25 you don't think about.
Yeah.
You don't think about when your body starts to shut down. You don't think about when you're doing this and doing that and blah, 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 blah. So, you need to evaluate what you want to accomplish. And just as I do now for any project or any event or anything that I do, what do I want to accomplish? I operate under a mission statement. And I didn't for much of my life. Well, if I sit down and say, okay, what's my mission statement? What am I trying to accomplish with the wrestling part of my life? How is it going to affect my family? Do I have a family? Do I want a family? Do I want to raise kids? How is it going to affect? Is it extra income? Is it going to be my main source of income? Because if it's going to be your main source of income, the only place to work is for the WWE.
Yeah.
It's one thing to work for some of these independent guys, but that's not full-time employment.
Right.
The one thing the wrestling business never had is benefits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have medical, you don't have retirement, and if you don't take care of that stuff, when you get 50, 51, 60 years old, like my dad, it's all gone.
Yeah.
And you don't have anything. So you've got to decide what you want out of life and then do it. The wrestling business can be a lot of fun. It can be a lot of part-time entertainment if that's what you like to do. And if you get good enough to go out and perform for the people, that's great. But keep it in its proper perspective, because the way the business is now, few and far between are going to make it, except as some job guy getting beat up on TV, going to make it to the WWE.
Yeah.
And that's not to discourage anybody, but use the business instead of the business use you.
Right. If you're just a single guy living on his own, you can really pick and choose which companies you want to go work for, and maybe just work on the weekends or just during the week. But if you want to bring up a family, you really have a responsibility to take as much money as you possibly can out of your body.
Oh, absolutely, because you've got to earn money for your wife and kids
Yep.
for a long time, and you've got to provide income for them all the time. I mean, there's a lot to think about.
You talked about your body breaking down and stuff, and you don't think about it when you're younger. What do you think about when you see some of these younger guys doing so many big bumps, big flips off the ropes outside the ring?
Well, I can get more reaction than they get with Dusty Rhodes at 51 years old without doing a flip off the ropes.
Right.
So I'm not sure what that says, but that's what I think.
Yeah. I understand what that meant. I have a question.
And I didn't do flips back then either.
No. Hell of a slingshot suplex.
Slingshot suplex.
Yeah, I was wondering.
And nobody else uses it still.
Oh, no one's. I think Van Hammer used it for a while, but I don't think anyone's ever going to compare Van Hammer to Tully Blanchard.
I hope not. Not sure who that was.
That's probably a good thing.
It's not a loss.
I think that's an inside joke, and y'all are killing me with that one.
You got a question from the message board, Barbie?
Absolutely. One of our fans, the Flea, lets us know that Mrs. Flea wants to know if you ever see or talk to Baby Doll anymore.
I see Baby Doll at some of these Legends things,
Mm-hmm.
and it's always good to see her. She can still whip me, and so I got to be careful hanging out with a girl that can whip me.
Yeah.
So
She's going to be in the at the match in Spartanburg, the tribute to Starrcade.
that's what I understand.
Yeah. We had Boogie Woogie Man on here a couple weeks ago, and he said that she might even leave with him after the match.
Oh, okay.
Let's see about that one. You have a question there, bro?
Yeah, we'll plead the fifth on that one. Not touching that.
Raven Effect from the message board, he wants to know, what was your favorite part of being with the Horsemen?
My favorite part of being with the Horsemen?
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing, it was just one package.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The horse.
You know, it was jet flying, limousine riding, and we took wrestling a place where no wrestlers had ever taken the wrestling business before. And we were making the money and living the life and talking about it on television. And I mean, it was just, every day was a new day. Every day was a new venture into uncharted waters. And it was wonderful.
The Horseman wasn't just a gimmick.
Oh, no, we lived it. I mean, we were together all night. We were together all day. We went to the gym together, ate together, traveled together, hung out with our families on days off together. And
you've been saying that you really know a lot and it's obvious you know a lot about the business. Did you ever think about training any young guys, working for like a training camp or anything like that?
I have thought about that, and actually I have done a couple people have asked me to come in and do a 1 day or 2 day seminar thing for wrestlers. The thing that I would probably consider doing this, but I don't need to teach anybody how to do one tackle, drop down, and get it again.
Right.
I don't need somebody that's a novice. I need somebody that can perform a little bit, and I can make him a far better performer because I can teach him philosophy of why you do things in the ring, which that's what's missing from most guys in the business from the top to the bottom, a philosophy on why you do things.
Right.
Yeah.
And the trouble with that is some of these guys on the independent things that they're seeing just they're getting the look in the eye, in the peephole through a door at what real stardom is about in the wrestling business. And they're on a few main events, and they've signed a few autographs, and they've had a couple of people, they've sold a couple of $300 tickets to an independent show, and they think they've arrived. And what's that old guy going to teach me? I do this, and I can do a double salt cow, and I can do a triple backflip and break 5 boards and do this and do that. Mm-hmm. And those are the people that I could really critique and teach. And so I get caught between a desire to give some of that knowledge away to some people, and rather than just teach somebody, okay, hey, we're going to have the Tully Blanchard school, and all you guys that want to learn how to wrestle, come here and give me $3,000 and I'll teach you. Right. I'd have a hard time taking their money, and I've told guys for years to when you go to a truck driving school, you can get out of a truck driving school with a certificate and go get a job. Mm-hmm. When you leave one of these wrestling schools, where are you going to work?
Right.
And so that's a difficult thing. But the other I could see myself doing, but I don't think that there's a market demand out there for that.
Right, because some wrestling schools have connections to an organization, however small it might be, but there are a lot of kids who learn the trade and then just get thrown out to deal with themselves, and usually end up leaving the business not too long afterwards.
Yeah, and they've been charged $3,000 or something.
Right. And to be trained by someone who maybe who never really made it in the business themselves.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But they know how to. How to tie up and take tackles, and they can go out and have a match.
Right.
But that's not learning the wrestling business. That's learning how to take a few bumps and be a job guy on TV.
Yeah, Joe Blow can teach you how to wrestle, but a guy like a Tully Blanchard can teach you how to wrestle correctly.
There you go.
There we are.
I need you as my agent.
I think I might.
You probably pay more than we pay him.
I get paid an opportunity.
All right, well, before we let you go, Tully, because we had you on almost an hour, is there anything you wanted to tell your fans out there?
Well, I thank the wrestling fans for being wrestling fans. I really do. Being second generation, I have a lot of fondness of my years before I wrestled, when I used to travel as a young kid with my dad, and then as I started in the wrestling business, is selling tickets and selling peanuts and selling Cokes and hot dogs and popcorn, to putting out window flyers for his big shows, to learning how to set up the ring and learn how to referee, and then announcing. And then when my career kicked off, just the ability to entertain people and have them appreciate it, to let them know how appreciated they are for being wrestling fans and supporting this wonderful line of entertainment.
And if we could just keep you on a minute during the break, if you wouldn't mind giving us like a little promo or a liner for our show, that would be great.
My pleasure.
Saturday, November 19th, Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium, Carolina Championship Wrestling presents a tribute to Starrcade. A huge night of wrestling with 10 big matches. Main event, bunkhouse match, Anything Goes American Dream Dusty Rhodes with Magnum TA will battle Four Horsemen Tully Blanchard with J.J. Dillon. The King, Harley Race, will present the winner of the CCW Heavyweight title. Special referee Mick Foley in the Battle of the Texans. Hardcore legend, Terry Funk versus Dustin Rhodes. Six-man tag team action. The Midnight Express and Jim Cornette will tackle Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton, Brad Armstrong, and Jerry the King Lawler. Ladies action featuring former WWE diva Ivory and Bambi. Tangling with Team Blondie with special referee Lady Sensation SoCal Val. Half of the Hardy Boys, Jeff Hardy, will be in the house signing autographs. Tribute to Starrcade, Saturday, November 19th.
This is J.J. Dillon, the leader of the original Four Horsemen, and I advise you to tune in to InYourHeadOnline.com.